Say the words PC gaming and one company tends to always appear. That company being Valve Software. Everybody loves Steam and everybody loves Valve. The memes are just insane. And the thing is though, it always wasn't like this. In fact, 20 plus years ago when Half-Life 2 was first announced, people actually hated Steam, mostly because Valve tried to go ahead and tie a video game to a storefront as an actual line of DRM. You can go back in time and see all the really nasty messages a lot of people really left on Gabe's doorstep. In fact, I was someone who hated Steam in the first place in the early 2000s, and I really didn't like what was going on. The thing is though, it took Valve and Steam 20 plus years of working to gain customer trust and to bank on it in the first place. To go through and say, hey, you can trust us not only with your money, but also your library, and here are the reasons why. And then they worked on those actual promises, and they've kept them to this day. If only other companies could do that exact same thing. And now in 2025, soon to be 2026, God, where has the time actually gone? I really don't know. It turns out that Valve is going to try their luck at something else again with the Steam Machine, part 2, basically. You see, we've talked about the Steam Machine on this channel for the last couple of days, and the thing is though, I'm incredibly excited for it. In fact, I'm someone who uses my Steam Deck over my Asus ROG Ally X. I prefer this device, even though it is cheaper, even though it is less powerful. It gives me something that the ROG Ally X doesn't, and that is a pure set of customizational skills and just a better overall feeling while using this sort of hardware, and the OS doesn't get in my way, which really is a nice thing to see. It's a little hot right now. I just started downloading a couple of games. But the thing is, when the Steam Deck first released, it was set out at an MSRP of $399, which was really crazy to hear back then, because even Gabe said himself that getting to that price point was in fact incredibly painful. But when you think about it, the device comes with the actual screen itself, which is an LCD. It comes with an actual SSD that you can take out, or EMC, and then replace it with something else. It's fully customizable. In fact, the other day, I just opened it up and replaced the triggers and the bumpers on the deck itself without needing anybody else's help. Pretty simple to do. And just the Steam Deck alone and what it's done has made me incredibly excited for the Steam Machine. Seeing as how back then, 10 years ago, oof, that's even crazier. My bones are turning into dust right now. The system integrators were going to be making those Steam machines as well, with Valve's Steam OS being applied, but you would have a massive range of different types of pieces of hardware all across the board, and it never really took off. In fact, it completely failed. So what makes this totally different? Well, right now, you've got a far more mature Steam OS. The fact that the Steam Deck was so successful, the rumor being that there were 4 million units sold of this actual little device, and the fact that Steam has grown exponentially to massive amounts of users, you can clearly see now would be the best time to try and launch a form factor PC to sit in the living room with Steam OS as well, trying to garner your current user base into using your OS rather than Windows 10, and trying to build the actual bridge between people who are scared of using the PC system in the first place. And that all sounds fantastic, but the problem is, even after that announcement, it turns out that we still don't know the price, and that's what's really scaring me, and could honestly be the one thing that causes this actual device to flop for a second time. According to VGC, Valve's newly announced Steam Machine will be priced, quote, like a PC rather than like a console, the company has reportedly said. You see, already off the bat, I'm quite a bit concerned, because when someone says I'm a PC gamer, the first thing people tend to think about is, oh, you spent $2,000 to $3,000 on your PC and you have like a 5090 or a 4090 or some insane Halo product, when that really isn't the case. We've also shown on this channel how we've seen console prices increase exponentially year over year and generation over generation, where now we saw the Xbox Series X get 2 price increases. The PlayStation 5 also get 2 price increases as well, and right now the top-end model of the PS5 Pro costing $750. So when someone says it's not going to be priced like a console but like a PC, I get a bit concerned, because even right now, I can go ahead and build a PS5 Pro system on a PC level for about the same price, for about maybe $750 to $800 if I skim a few things off the top. And being someone like myself who knows what parts to pick from PC Part Picker or build a PC on their own, The price of this device for the Steam machine has to be incredibly aggressive. Saying something so incredibly vague doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. For Valve to go around and be like, oh, we're going to price it like a PC, that could be anything. That could be from somebody's mind to $2,000 or someone else's mind like mine to being like $500 because you probably could get a PC for about $500 that performs the exact same way, maybe even a little better actually, especially with not having a laptop GPU. This is where things are going to get a little bit sticky, and I'm honestly kind of concerned about this device and how it's going to perform in the first place. Dare I say, if it's priced too high, it may even be a scam. But you know what? Let's talk about what happened in the article and go from there. Valve's newly announced Steam machine will be priced like a PC rather than like a console. That's according to a Valve spokesperson who spoke to Linus Tech Tips during a reveal event. According to Linus Sebastian, this likely means the Steam firm won't take a hit on production costs in order to reduce consumer prices, like companies like PlayStation and Xbox have done in the past. First of all, we can basically just stop right here real quick. In the past, yes, during the PS4 generation, PS3, maybe you want to count that one, definitely PlayStation 2 and PS1, you can clearly see that a lot of hardware manufacturers like Nintendo, Xbox, and even PlayStation were taking a loss on the hardware to in fact have more people go out and be able to buy the software. The thing is though, those plans have effectively been changing quite dramatically actually, with every single company using the terms of market conditions to go through and raise the cost of their consoles to not only either break even for each one sold, but also make profit off of each one sold as well. So this idea right now that being priced like a console doesn't make a whole lot of sense, even though things can get even more expensive in the future as well, as a rumor going around being that the next Xbox could be costing $1,000 with no actual confirmation on that yet, by the way. This is just the rumor being thrown around, and everything else in the next generation just increasing in price exponentially. Linus said, quote, Valve wasn't able to give any specific numbers due to the rapidly evolving market conditions, but they will obviously have it all nailed down when the Steam machine launches in Q1 of 2026, alongside the new Steam controller, Sebastian said. They did offer me one hint though. They said that while they expect it to be very competitively priced with a PC, it will be priced like a PC rather than like a console, with games subsidizing the upfront hardware purchase. And this is the part where I'm going to have to call bullshit, because when you look at Steam and you look at Valve, they are clearly able and capable of subsidizing hardware costs for their actual Steam machine and devices, because they in fact have a storefront where they do in fact sell all those games. They have Valve software where they make stuff, and they have Steam itself. In fact, Gabe himself said it was a difficult, painful process to get this down to the price where it was. So clearly they can in fact take a loss on hardware when necessary. And in my opinion, they should absolutely be able to take a loss on hardware for the Steam machine as well, especially if they want Steam OS to grow and to reach new kinds of consumers and customers and grow that platform in the first place. Now, the way this is worded, I don't know if it's because Linus said that or if Valve said that. But the thing is this, Valve should in fact do the right thing and take the hit to make sure that more people can afford this kind of device and go through and be able to have more PC gamers into their ecosystem in the first place, to understand why Steam and Valve software are in fact so loved by the PC gaming community. But that's just my opinion on the whole thing, because I've definitely seen so many people just go ahead and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on CS2 case openings, and even then Valve themselves wiped away $4 billion of market share from Counter-Strike skins. That's how much money is left in that skin economy. Valve makes money. They can afford to do this. The article continues by saying this: they wouldn't say why, but if I had to guess, I'd say it's partially to avoid stepping on the margin opportunities of their potential partners for Steam games and Steam software, but also because they recognize that the Steam machine is a full-fledged PC. So there's no guarantee then that, say, a corporate purchase of 10,000 of these things would result in a single game sale. So they really do need to protect the sustainability of their harbor business. Now, there's a lot to unpack there, and one of the big concerns that I have, though, is what is going to be the actual price of this system. If you really want to take a look at what the margins are and what's happening in PC gaming, we've been through quite a bit already. We've already gone through crypto, we've already gone through chip shortages, and now we're going through the AI boom as well. We've seen prices and components of PC parts become astronomically expensive, and then watch as those companies still try to go through and charge us exact same prices to everybody else, as if we're still in some sort of like weird internal bubble. Get the joke? But still, let's keep going. The thing is, though, what could this device actually cost? Because Valve's own developers were saying that this PC of the Steam machine would be better than 70% of what's shown on the Steam hardware survey. Don't believe me? Check it out. According to Hazardor Gaming, Valve engineer Yazan Al-Dahayat says, quote, "The Steam machine is equal to or better than around 70% of what people have at home. We actually looked at the Steam hardware survey, so basically just to give us a good benchmark of where people's home devices are in terms of performance." In fact, Not Lextorius said this: "I don't think enough people realize that Valve literally just took the most common Steam hardware survey results and made a console out of it." Well, it's not a console, it's a PC, but let's keep going. That's literally all the Steam machine is, showing system RAM at 16 gigs, VRAM at 8 gigs, 1080p display, and then everything else across the board. One of the big pieces of criticisms that I have for the Steam machine is in fact the 8 gigs of VRAM itself. Really, that's going to be a bottleneck, honestly, and I think 16 gigs of VRAM should have been ideal for this system, especially what it's trying to do. Saying things like 4K 60 with FSR is a bit of a concern, especially now because we've seen games on 8 gigabytes of VRAM just not run at all. But the thing is, though, I kind of want to go a little bit further. I want to make a good guesstimate of what this device would actually cost, with two different perspectives. One, if Valve actually took a hit and decided to lower the price to go ahead and take a loss on the system, or the other perspective, if Valve either sold it at a cost or even at profit. Let's give it a shot, shall we? For the motherboard, I picked an Asus A620AMX Micro ATX AM5 motherboard at $79.98. For the memory, we picked a DDR5 4800 megatransfers per second, two 8GB sticks for $85.55, basically double what you would normally pay for a bunch of RAM, which is honestly kind of crazy. For the storage, we picked 512 gigabytes of the Acer Predator GM7000, an M.2 PCIe SSD for about $63.99. For the case, I just picked a Micro ATX Mini Tower. I figured let's just go ahead and make everything small and just kind of like go with that form factor as well. It's also only like 35 bucks. For the power supply, I just picked any Thermaltake 500 watt 80 plus certified power supply. Okay, I've seen people be like, oh, you need like 650 or 7. You don't need all of that. You don't. You're just spending to spend money. If you want a good power supply, get an EVGA one. You're fine. It's going to be okay. This is not going to be running anything out of control. This is just a CPU, a GPU, and RAM, boys. You don't need all of that horsepower for this kind of thing. 500 watts, 39 bucks and 65 cents. For the CPU, I went with the AMD Ryzen 5 7600. It does match the 6-core 12 threads that we saw for the Steam machine as well on the spec list, and it is a little bit underclocked in terms of what we're seeing for actual performance, but you can definitely overclock it from the 3.8 to the 4.7 gigahertz if you need to, and it comes with a stock cooler as well, so you're pretty much good to go if you want to. Which honestly, I think this is exactly what we're going to be seeing, because when you look at the actual Steam machine heatsink, that device is basically just 80% heatsink as well, so that's probably why they're going to be overclocking the CPU, but let's keep going though, shall we? For the GPU, I went with the 7600 as well. This is the ASRock Challenger model. It's 8 gigabytes, just like the actual set of what we're seeing inside of the Steam machine, and it only has 4 CUs above the Steam machine as well. So the closest one-to-one that you're going to be seeing is going to be probably this GPU, besides the mobile version actually, which is just a little bit more cut down. This is actually going to be showing up at $239.99. Now, even with a lot of my price skimping, and you guys know me very well, I don't like to spend any money at all, the total cost for this kind of PC is $719. This does not bode well for what we're seeing right now. Number one, the fact that RAM on this device is twice the price of what we're normally getting. And we've seen the impact of this directly because AI data centers have been needing more RAM specifically to run their servers, which of course is increasing the price by almost 176%. Usually, those two sticks of 8 gigs would be around 35 to 40 bucks. You're paying more than double right now, which is pretty absurd. So that would knock the price down to the 600 something mark if we wanted to. On top of that, at the same time, we're still seeing CPUs like the 7600 still cost about 176 bucks. And even GPUs still not hit the 199 mark either, even though those are entry level and they're 8GB GPUs as well. After doing this kind of experiment and looking through to see what would actually be done and what it actually costs the regular consumer to make this kind of system, I would probably almost say that it would not behoove Valve to actually delay this machine in the first place and not release it in its current state, seeing as how right now there are in fact proper market conditions impacting PC parts in the worst kind of way, unless they scored some insane kind of deal with RAM manufacturers and even then at the same time with AMD to go ahead and get bin GPUs. It's going to be a tough sell overall. I really feel like the worst case scenario may in fact even come true with them saying they're going to price it like a PC. If it does come out to be 700 bucks at the standard 512, that's going to be a no-go, and I would definitely call that a scam. Mostly because you'd be able to just go ahead and build a system yourself for that exact same amount of cost and not have to worry about Valve in the first place. And even then, if prices begin to fluctuate back down to normal, you could in fact be saving yourself quite a bit of money and not going through and having it to buy directly from Valve on their own. Seeing as how SteamOS is basically free to download and use as well, you could just put Bazet on there and you're good to go. I'm incredibly worried and concerned about the Steam Machine pricing. I am hoping in my heart of hearts that Valve does the right thing and takes the actual cut and brings it down to at least a viable price. Because if you're looking at the fact of, hey, I'm going to be having console-like performance, but I'm still paying more than what consoles cost right now, that's not going to be enticing enough for a customer and consumer to go through and buy that product in the first place, especially one who's never gone through and put any of their games onto Steam. For a Steam aficionado like myself or someone who likes to tinker, I think the most I'll be willing to pay for that device will be $599 at the very top end, in my personal opinion. I would just go ahead and replace the actual SSD inside of it if that ever came down to it, and not even buy the 2TB version either. I did that with the Steam Deck. I just took out the EMC inside of it and just put in an actual SSD in there, and I was good to go. So you don't have to spend all that money for the storage if you don't need to. Valve lets you go ahead and open stuff up and even gives you right to repair as well. On the one hand, if Valve decides to go ahead and take the painful approach and take the loss on the actual device and hardware, which is what they should do, I can see them charging anywhere between $599 and $649 for this device. Preferably, I think $599 would be the better course of action after seeing what we just saw right now with how expensive sticks of RAM actually are. Those two 8GB sticks should have been 35 to 45 bucks. Instead, they were almost 90. That's honestly out of control. At the same time, CPUs and GPUs still haven't leveled off. A 7600 GPU for 8 gigs should be at $199, not $239 or $249, and that 7600 CPU shouldn't be $170. At the most, it should be sitting around $149 right now. That would be a massive savings of around almost $100 just for those two pieces alone of tech, which would bring the price back down to a more substantial level of what people would expect to actually pay for this kind of device. In my opinion, the $700 price point for this device makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Why would anyone spend $700 when they can get the same kind of performance on a PS5 or Xbox Series X for $150 less on that actual price? Which is why I feel that right now Valve should in fact take the hit and reduce the cost of that Steam machine as much as possible. Even at $599, it's still a tough sell when consoles cost $550 right now, and the performance gap isn't even that great between them. For someone who's never been into Steam in the first place, they would be more hesitant to spend more money on a device that they really don't know what it would actually do. So having a lower price in the first place could sway more users to get into Steam, and also a lot of the actual Steam users to go through and use that as a secondary PC. So best case scenario, if Valve takes the hit, I could see this thing as low as $599 or even $649. If Valve doesn't take the hit, it's going to be dead on arrival. 100%. If it's anywhere near $700, it's an absolute scam. You might as well just go ahead and build your own PC, save yourself the money there, wait for a couple of Black Friday sales, and then wait for PC parts to go back to normal. Get yourself a PC that is performant on the same level or even better for around the exact same kind of price. It wouldn't make any sense whatsoever, and just put Bazzite on there and you basically have SteamOS at the same exact time. I'm really concerned about this device. I really hope that Valve proves me wrong, and I really hope that they take the hit just like they did for the Steam Deck as well, because this baby being at $399 was honestly fantastic. That Steam Machine being at $700, it's not going to go anywhere. So you know what? I want to hear what you guys have to say about this in the comment section down below. Did you guys make your own PC part picker list about this? What price did you get, and what parts do you think I can switch out to have a better price to performance on this entire system as well? And what do you think Valve will be pricing the Steam Machine next year? But you know what? If you want to see more of this kind of content, more PC port reviews, gaming news, my hot takes on the gaming industry, fanboy content, and live streams every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 98K. If you want to go ahead and get Discord access or most during those live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. If you don't want to spend the buck, don't sweat it. Just show up Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, live right here on the channel as I wear a banana suit and get insulted by 800 people with AITTS. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!